Last session we stopped with tokens and literals. I'll just give you a small introduction about what we have discussed in the previous session.
Okay.
Okay, so we discussed about two types of mode in Python, like how to do it in the script mode and the editor mode. We have installed Python, executed a simple code in the Python, and then we started with the fourth chapter. What is Python character set? Okay, so we discussed about what are the tokens. What is a character set? A character set is a combination of, like, it may have a letters, digits, symbols, white spaces, other characters, and everything. And then I discussed about the token. So what is a token is it's like it has keywords, identifiers, literals, operators, punctuators, everything. Okay, these are all called the tokens in Python. Okay, so here you have a small what to say, a small example for identifying each and every token. Okay, so here you can see you have X. Okay, what is this X? We usually call it as a variable. Okay, what is a variable? Any idea?
Variable, like it holds something.
Very good. It
It
used to
holds the
store
data.
the data. Okay, it used to hold the data or store the data or something. So variable or identifier, it is interchangeably used. Okay, it's a variable or identifier. So y is also a variable. Okay, so if you see this equal to, this is an operator. Okay,
Okay.
and this print, I like, as I have mentioned, anything which starts with a parenthesis and it has a parenthesis and or parameters inside, it is a function. Sometimes they also called as a procedure, so it is interchangeably used, functions. Okay, and here if you see uh, here if you see here that this is an operator, this slash. Okay, this is an arithmetic operator which is a divided by symbol. Okay, and 68, which we call it as a literal because it's a number. Okay, and 12 is a number which is also a literal. And here, which is given inside the double quotes. In Python, whatever you give anything inside the double quotes, which are considered to be a string.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a literal again. And the last three digit, like last three things, which is X, Y, Z, these are all punctuators. Okay, so here it will print the exact value of X, Y, and Z. Okay, let me just give you a small example. Like, let us just go ahead with a different one. So here, if you take X, 105, 12 star plus X star Y. Okay, and yeah. So now, can you just tell me, like, what are the tokens here? What is X?
So X is the variable, Y is the variable, and then Z is also a variable. The equal signs are in operators, math operators, and then the 105 and 12 are numeric, what's that?
Literals. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
numeric literals. And then print is a function, and anything inside the parentheses are string, and X, Y, Z are the punctuators.
Very good. Okay. So this is how you can identify. So any questions, if they asked you about what is a token, you have to write about all these tokens individually. So the keyword. So here, even print is a keyword. Okay. Print alone, if you take, it's a keyword, and then print along with the open and close parenthesis is a function.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So here, whenever any questions asked about the token, you have to write about what is a keyword, identifier, literal, operator, and punctuator. Okay. And then you should give an example for all these things. What is a keyword? What is an identifier? Keyword holds a special place, a special meaning in a Python interpreter. So that's why you should not use keyword for any other thing. Like if you are declaring a variable, if you are creating a procedure or a function, you should not use these keywords. And what is an identifier? You should also give an example like this and draw this table like that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions till this? Shall we go to the next one?
Yeah, we can go to the next one.
Okay, so we have a concept called object in Python. Okay, so what is this object? Everything in Python is an object, even a numbers and the string. Okay, because
Okay.
object in the sense everything, whatever you are creating, it has an identity in the memory space.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you just execute this code, okay, if you just visualize this code, you know, you can see here that you have, if I'm just running it, okay, so what happens here, it is holding a space, right? So 105 is the variable which is stored in X. In your real time in the backend in your Python interpreter, X will be in a memory. Okay, it holds a memory space. Okay, and it has some ID. That is what they are talking about. In your Python, everything is considered to be an object. Okay, every object has its own ID and its own type. What is its type? Like it may be an integer, it may be a string, or the actual data which you are storing. Okay,
Okay.
if you want to find the ID of the object, you can just give like ID of X. Okay, so I'm just giving this, edit this code, and I'm just printing ID of X. Okay, if you click visualize, you just click next. So it holds the ID. Let us just print it. Okay, print ID of X. Okay, let me just see. If you just visualize this, you can see this is the ID of the X value.
Okay.
Okay, ID. This is the ID which is stored of the X value. See, you just think about page number. Okay, like a page number. Every object has its own ID so that it can identify the X. Why it should have an ID? See, you are creating a program, okay, with the X variable. After that, I am creating a program with the X variable.
Okay.
Okay, not the same program. Let us take like a, you are creating exercise 1, I am creating exercise 2, but the variable which we are creating are same. Okay, x.
Okay.
How Python will identify that?
Okay. It needs something to differentiate
Yes,
between X and X.
exactly. That is why every variable you are creating, it will be created with along with the ID.
Okay.
Okay, so that is why you should always it will create it. Okay, you didn't create this ID. It is actually, whenever if you want to see the ID of any variable, if you just go and give ID of y, even here if you just print ID of x, ID is a function. Again, ID is a function. Okay, because it has a open and close parenthesis. Inside ID, you should pass a variable. So I'm just executing this code. See what happens. It will tell you the ID of Z. Okay,
Okay.
it is printing you the ID of the Z. Can you see here? This is the ID of the Z.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a printing ID of X. Sorry, I have given X, so it should be X Z.
Okay.
Okay, so you can, whatever the which variable you wanted to go with an ID, so you can just go ahead and check it. So you can see this is ID of your Z. This is ID of your X. You can find some common thing like 14,100, 14,001. It's there, and 98, 198, 1400198 is same. 1400198 is same. It may refer to the same code. Okay, that is
Okay.
a one single program, and then it is creating some random ID for a variable. Okay, this
Yeah.
is what we call it as an ID.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how it will be created. So that is why we call it as a Python as an object-oriented programming. Okay, so it's not a 100% object-oriented. 100% in the sense, as I showed you, like if you wanted to write a C++ code or a Java code, you know, you should start with a proper line. Like you have to import the data. In Java, you have to tell what is the class it is, and then you have to start with main. So it has some, it won't follow the 100% restricted object, but it is like each and everything considered to be an object here.
Okay.
Okay, and you should know what is a variable and a data type. Okay, so
Okay.
variable, as you know, like because it holds the data, right? You know, variable is a which is used to hold the data. Data type, what type of data you are giving? why this data type is very essential, because each and every data type, the storage of the data type, it means a lot. Okay. For example, if you are creating it as a integer, then it will hold some 32-bit. Okay. If you are creating a string, it will hold a different type of storage in your Python. So if you take, see, data types and storage, and it's, so if you take data type and its storage, how it exactly performs, you can see integer holds a different data type, a different storage, whereas see, this is what. Okay, these are the type. Okay, what is this? The string in the sense text type, int, float. These are the types of data. So instead of declaring a data type, 1 minute, let me just show you. Okay, I will send you the how many bits it stores actually. It won't be visible. It is not there in your book, but it is good if you understand how it is actually stored. It. Okay, so okay, yes. So this is the what I was just searching for. So you can just print it, edit this code. See, if you want to see the type of the data, okay, so if you want to see the how much storage it is taking. Okay, I'm just printing it here. Okay, so sys is a library. Okay, sys is a library in Python. In that library you have a function get size
Okay.
of. Okay, I'm just asking the size of this x value. Okay, for this we have to import a thing, I think. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, here you can only run the direct query. Let's just try to execute this in the ideally like our
Okay.
Python idle.
Python.
Yeah. So here, because it is a visualization, right? It don't accept more uh, what to say, like packages. It won't accept. Let me just try with Python online editor. So why I'm showing this is because you should know why we should give a appropriate data type. Like why instead of giving something like integer, why I should not declare it as a decimal. If it purely has a module have imported isn't available. Okay, sys is not available. Fine, I'll just run it after the session. Okay, so after once we complete it. So everything has its own memory space. It will allocate a memory space. Okay, as you can see here, output of the memory size is 42. Okay, but the memory integer, because it's a number, right? It's an integer. It holds a memory integer. So this is what it holds. Some here you can see floating point will hold 64-bit bits of data, whereas your integer will hold 32 bits of data. Likewise, string will hold 64 bits of data. Like what happens whenever you're creating anything in your system, it will hold a memory space for each and everything which you are executing it. So if I'm declaring, I know that this is my integer, but if instead of integer, if I'm making it as a fixed number or a decimal number, it will hold more memory space.
Okay.
Okay, so that is why it is always advisable to give the proper data type. What data type you are going to use, whether it is a number or a string or what it is, like exactly you have to give it.
Okay.
Okay, so Python is a dynamically typed language. Why? Because you don't want to specify that this is an integer, this is a string, this is a something like that. You don't want it to specifically tell that. Okay, it will automatically understand based on the input it is receiving.
Okay.
Okay, that is why it is called as a dynamically typed language. Dynamic language. Python is a dynamic language because you don't need to specify anything for that.
Okay.
Okay, so here you can see you have this x. We have already discussed these. Like if you go with x is equal to 10, here x is a variable and 3 is a type of data type. Okay, what data? It is a number data.
Okay.
Okay, we will complete all these basic thing and we will open the idle and try to get it. Okay. So this is about, yeah, the value of x is 3 and the value of y is 4, how it is executed if you go with the plus symbol, and what it will happen if you execute the code like adding, after adding it, what will happen. All these things are given here. Okay, so this is important point you should know. Okay, here print statement is used to display this, you already know. Wherever you find the CTM, okay, that just read it and keep this in mind, because you should highlight this in your exam. Like whenever you are writing an exam, you should highlight this.
Okay.
Okay, print statement, if you want to print a multiple line, you can just go ahead with that. Everything you should know that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so every variable, as I told, an object has three things. It has a identity, it has a type, and it has a value, right?
Okay.
Your object, every object has its own ID, its own type, and what is a value. ID is what which is created by Python itself. It will create something randomly like this. Okay, if you are not using, like we discussed, right? ID, it has created 14,000, huh?
Yeah.
1400. Yeah, it will create something randomly for you. You cannot decide it. Okay, so ID and type. What type of data it is? Like it is a integer or what? And what is the exact value? If you have given x is equal to 25, if you are executing this, what happens? Yes. So here, this is a type of data. Okay, what type it is? It is a 105. It's a number, and this is a value. This is the exact 105 is the value which is stored, and it has its own ID as well. So this is the ID.
Okay.
Okay, so identity of the variable object, which we already discussed. If you use ID, you can do is this ID will not change once it is created. We have already executed this multiple times, right? But you can see here the ID remains the same.
Yeah.
Okay, once you have created it, it won't change. So this is the important point you should write when you are writing something about the ID. So an object should have ID, value, and type, and ID will not change once it is created. Okay, and you can see here, you can check it using ID. This is the function which is used to check, and inside that you have to pass the variable or the object. Okay, and next comes the types of data. What are the types of data you have? You have number, you have Boolean. Numbers, in number, you can see you have three types of numbers we usually have. So we have integer, you can see integer, floating point, on complex numbers.
Okay.
Okay, integer, it's a whole number. Okay, integer always have the whole number value, like 10, 20, 12,000, 15,800.
Okay.
Okay, so it has its own memory storage, as I said. So either you can represent it as um, a bits, like 32-bit. Okay, so here in number, they will accept, in numbers they will accept the numbers between -6, 7, 9, 3, and -255, comma 0, 4, comma 0. Okay, so these are the allowed number. Like you can either enter minus. Minus is also an integer. Okay, it's a negative integer, but
Okay.
it should be a whole number. It should not be like 0.23, 0.23, or 12,000.63, 1,200.63. Like this, you should not write. It should be a whole
Okay.
number.
Yeah.
Next comes your floating point number, which is denotes some floating, that is a point, decimal point. You should always go with a decimal point here.
Okay.
Okay, which we call it as a floating point number, digits. Okay, and so whenever you are creating a floating point, so it usually stores 64 bits. Okay, and next comes your complex numbers. Okay, what is this complex number? It has some real and imaginary value. You might have heard about real value and imaginary value. For example, let me just go ahead with x is equal to 25 plus 6j. Okay, here 25 will be your real number, right?
Yeah.
5j will be your imaginary number.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is your complex numbers. Why these complex numbers? Because sometimes you want to find, because here both x and y will be considered to be the floating point number. Okay, it's a real part of the floating point number, and you will be indicating something like this. So here we call it this as a complex numbers.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
got it.
got it? Yes. Next comes your Boolean. Okay, Boolean means yes or no, which means like 0 or 1. Eight, only two values will be there, 0 or 1. It should be true or false.
Okay.
Okay, true or false, we usually call it as in more like if you take in a real time scenario, we will call 0 and 1, ones and zeros. Okay, any expression which goes 0 or that is true or false, which we call it as a Boolean.
Okay.
Okay, next comes sequences. So, what are the sequences? It's a group of data. For example, see, if it is like a one or two number or one or two name, you can create X, Y, and then you can just go ahead with that.
Okay.
Imagine you wanted to store a data about like a student's data in a single classroom. If you just take a student data, 12th standard A section student's data. Okay,
Okay.
there will be at least 60 students. Imagine about the 60 students. Can you create a 60 individual variable x is equal to, like for example, student name 1, student 1, um, someone from A, like Akarshana, student 2, Akshaya. Like this, if we are creating nearly 60 variable for that student, for each and every student, it will, what happens? What will happen? Any idea?
It's for us. It's like really like a long. Like it takes a lot of time to create it.
Yes, it takes a lot of time. Other than time, what happens in reality? What happens is what it will hold a lot of space. It will degrade your performance. Imagine for only one classroom, we are creating 60 individual variable to hold the student name itself. And then if
Yeah.
you wanted to store the 60 student marks, then again you have to create, if they are if they are nearly writing three different subjects, then what happens? 60 into 3,
180. 180
180
variable.
variable you have to create for storing the marks itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is why this concept of sequences like list, tuple, set, dictionary, everything comes into the picture.
Okay.
Okay, so here what they will do is they will have only one variable. For example, student name. They will have only one variable. In that they will store everything with the comma. Okay,
Okay.
12th student name. For example, let us take 12 students. So one student name will be here and then comma. Next student will be here, comma, comma, comma. Everything will be stored in the single variable.
Okay.
Okay, which will
Yeah.
reduce your storage, which will reduce your like remember, like it will study reduce your complexity, it will increase your performance.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Okay, and string, as you know, see, why string comes under sequences? Because you can type a sentence, you can even store a paragraph in a string. For example, you can just type here something like this. So if I'm going ahead with example, okay, example is my string, where I can just go ahead with we are learning 11th standard CBSE computer science Python code. So I'm just typing a literally a big word or a big sentence here, right? It is
Yeah.
storing a big sentence, and I can execute this. If you want to print this, you can execute this. That is why string also comes under the sequences.
Okay.
Okay, sequence, inside sequence you have string, list, and tuple.
Okay.
Okay, so list, we I have showed you what is a string, right? We have understood what is a string,
Yeah.
and here we will learn about list here. Okay, so let me just go ahead with, for example, str st okay, strang. Okay, why I'm just giving a different name? Because it should not be a keyword. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm just storing hello world, welcome. Okay, and then next I'm going to create a list. Okay, list one, or else list one, list underscore one, whatever it may be. So you can create anything inside the list. A list can hold a multiple data type. Okay. For example, I can start with one comma, and then I'm just going ahead with another variable here, apple. Okay. I'm just going here again here with some, I'm just going here with something like a decimal number. Okay, so for example 52.3, I'm just going ahead with the decimal number, or I can have a combination of lit something like b4 1 2 3, something like this. Okay, so this is a
Okay.
list. Okay, it is also a sequence of items separated with a comma. I'll show you how it is actually executed. Okay,
Okay.
so let us just print list 1. Okay, and here let us just print the string. Okay, and then I'll also create a tuple here. I'll tell you what is the difference between the list, what is the difference between the tuple and everything.
Okay.
So let us hold all the same thing here, but if you are creating a tuple, the first difference is you have to use the parenthesis. If you
Yeah.
are using a if you are using a parenthesis, that is considered to be a tuple.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas if you are using a list, it is you have to go ahead with the square bracket. That is the
Okay.
first difference between your list and tuple.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, and another important difference is there, which we will discuss. I think probably they have discussed about in the upcoming topic. Okay, which we usually call it as a mutable and immutable.
Okay.
Okay, what is mutable and what is immutable? It should be there. I think I haven't gone through your entire book. Okay, first let us just execute this and see how it is actually printing, and then I'll just take you to this. Okay, tuple 1. Okay, so let me just execute this. Okay, so if you just see the string, you can see here the string is here, hello world, welcome. And if you see the list, what happens? See, the string directly holds something here. Okay, whereas in the list, each and everything whatever you have given inside the comma, it has some number in order to identify it. Can you see that?
Yeah, like an index value.
Yes, exactly. It's an index value, we call it as. Okay, can see it starts with 0 and 1 2 and 3. This is what a list happens. Okay, it won't hold the entire thing in the same variable. Instead it will create it as a index value. Likewise, you can also see here that you have a tuple that to store something in the index value.
Yeah.
Okay, but now what happens? Like, why? Okay, anyhow, you can see here list and tuple both are storing it in an index value.
Yeah.
Then what is the purpose of two things? We will, when we discuss about the dictionary, even dictionaries will also save it with the key and value pair. Okay, because in dictionary you can see in the front page, in the index page, they'll be telling you like if this is the starting word, you can find it in the page number, this particular page number.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is key and value. What is the key and what is the value? Okay, so
Yeah.
that particular key and value you can find it there. Okay, that is what dictionary.
Okay.
Okay, so let me also create a dictionary here so that you will have a better understanding. So usually whenever I'm teaching, I will go with everything together. Okay, what is list, tuple and dictionary? So I'm just creating a dictionary one. Okay, so in dictionary you have to start with the curly brace. And for example, if you want to go with ID and the name of the student, for example, so the first student ID is 1 and her name is like something. Okay, and the second ID, second student is 2 and her name is something. Okay, third ID and her name. So with ID, if you want to specify, so you can also go ahead with that. Like, okay, so I have created something here and I'm just trying to print the dictionary. Okay, so if you just give dict 1. Let us just visualize this execution here. Next. Okay, so you can see here how it is exactly created. See, if it is a list, it is creating an index value 0, 1, 2, 3. Tuple same 1, 2, 3. But in a dictionary, it is creating a key and a value pair. This is a key. One is a
Yeah.
key. It is not starting with 0. Because 0, 1, 2, 3 is an index value. Whereas this is the exact value which I have given in the first. Whatever you are writing here, this will be considered as a key. Okay,
Okay.
and then this is the value. Once you give some comma, then again it starts with key colon value. Key colon value. You can give a string there. Okay, even instead of one colon, you can give a Akshaya like that. Okay.
Okay.
So now, what is the difference? Why should I go with list tuple? When should I go with tuple or when should I go with list? Okay. If you feel like the object will change often, my object inside the data, this particular list may change often, you have to go with the list or dictionary.
Okay.
That we call it as a mutable. Mutable in the sense you can change it whenever you want.
Okay.
Okay. When you feel like, okay, this object should not be changed by anybody, which means that the id, like if you don't want the object to be changed by anyone or you should not modify the object, you have to go with the tuple, okay, which is immutable.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the important thing. The object should not be changed in the sense you have to go should be changed in the sense like mutable is you can change it. You have to declare it as a list dictionary or you will I don't know whether you have a set added there. If set is also there, we will also discuss set all or mutable. Mutable in the sense you can change the value. In tuple you cannot change the value.
Okay. Got it.
There exists some situation where you feel like, okay, these are my data where others should not change it. In that case, you have to create it as a tuple.
Okay.
Okay, or if anybody can change it, if the data can be changed frequently, you have to create it as a dictionary or a list.
Okay.
Okay, got it. So that is why they have given a um, uh, uh, multiple options for you, like list tuple. Yes, I think you have sets as well here, but let us see. Okay, I'll show you how
Okay.
to create a set as well later.
Okay.
Okay. Any doubt till this? Do you want to go through your book
Yeah. Sure.
or your
Just go through the.
yeah. You just go through and get back to me.
I went through it. The ones that you
Yeah,
counted.
good. So these are all the sequences. Okay, sequences under sequences you will get string, list, and tuple. Okay, set is a separate thing. I'll just take you through that set. I think it's not there in your book. I'll just show you that. Okay, even if you want to declare a set, you have to go start with the curly brace. But instead, unless your dictionary, we will not go with colon. Whenever you start giving colon, it will assume that you are creating a dictionary.
Okay.
Okay, here I'm not creating any colon. I'm just started with some numbers, even it may be a string, whatever it may be. What happens? Set will not accept the duplicates. So here I have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, right? But when you
Yeah.
see the output, you can see only the unique value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and not your repeated numbers.
Okay.
Okay, not your repeated numbers. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is what, when you wanted to remove the duplicates, you have to go with the set. If you feel like, even if I may give some like for example, if I unknowingly give some duplicate value, it should not be accepted. Then you have to start with the set.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so these are the thing which is here. Okay, so sequences, like how you can create a sequence, list, tuple, boolean, floating, sets, and dictionary. Why this is called as a mapping? Because you can see here in the um, in your dictionary, you can see that it is creating a separate key for you. It means like a mapping. Instead of calling it with the index value, you can simply say 1, it will bring you this Akshaya. Okay, so it
Okay.
is mapping you based on the key. That is why it comes under a mapping. And then none. Okay, none is also a data type.
Oh,
Fine,
okay.
this is a special data type actually.
Okay.
Okay, which means that it will tell you that there is no value for it.
Okay.
Okay. So if you are creating something like a none, Python will not display anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So why we have to create such thing? If it is nothing, why should I create it? Like if that is more into your memory. Okay. So if you are not creating something properly, and if you want to leave it empty, if you are not declaring it as a null, sometimes it may create a garbage value. So that is why it should always advisable, if you don't wanted to do something, like if you don't want to declare something, and if you still just wanted to declare a variable, initialize a variable, just go ahead with none. Okay, so like this we can just create it something like, okay, so print non. So what happens when you just print this? So if you're just executing this code, so you can see here it is storing none. Okay, it is not a string variable, it is not an integer variable, but it's simply a none.
Okay.
Okay,
But
so
why would
it's
you
if
want
when
to like initialize a variable to none when it doesn't like get
you can
anything?
use it if you want to use it later. Okay, yeah, I just want to create a variable, but I want to use it later somewhere in the program.
Okay.
You can create it as a null, none.
Okay. So if I
Okay.
change initialize non to like another variable, for example, an integer or like a float, then it will get the same variable back without going back to none value.
Can you just come again?
So, for example, I've in a code I've already initialized non as none, and then after like a few other codes, I'm coming back to non and
Mm-hmm.
initializing it again to
It
for
will
any
override.
variable.
Yeah, it will override. So in a
Okay.
real time scenario, why we usually go with the none is what? If user doesn't give any value to you, then you will instruct the system to assume that as a null.
Okay.
Okay, for example, you can say if the email, if the, for example, the user wants to enter his name, but if he left it blank, okay, instead of saving it as a blank, you will instruct the Python code to assume it as none, because blank value, if you use it, you cannot process it, right? And sometimes it may be like it won't be useful for anything. So instead, if you just make it as a none, it will be good. This is
Okay.
the one.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
like give you an example. Can you like correct me if I'm right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, in a Google form, when you're like answering something, and some things are like required, it like has a
Yeah.
red star, and then
Uh,
the other ones
ex
it's not like.
Mm.
mandatory for you to do it. In that
Yes.
times, it will like, use it as a null value.
Yes.
Okay.
So now, like, now we have this mandatory. If someone is not entering, then you will consider that as a none. If someone is entering, not applicable. Okay, they are simply typing NA, and you cannot you use it for processing. You can make it as a none. You can, while storing it, you can convert it into none and store it.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Okay. So it is always good to avoid some bugs to make it as a none and hold it, store it somewhere.
Okay.
Okay, so that is why we usually go with a none value.
Okay. Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are data types. Just see numbers, Boolean, sequences, set, mapping. So in sequences, you will get the string, list, and tuple.
Okay.
Okay, when the question is asked on a data type, you have to draw this visual. Okay, don't forget to draw this visual.
Okay.
Okay, so numbers we discussed about it, integer. Okay, so this is integer, okay, which represents the whole number. This is also we have discussed. It may be a negative number, it may be something, but it should you should declare it.
Okay.
Okay, and you have a function called a type function in Python. For example, if you were not and if you don't know what is this type, for example, if you want to understand what is this type of this particular variable, okay, so you can simply use the function called type. Okay, type is a function which is used to tell you like what is um this particular variable is all about. Okay, so okay, type we haven't printed. Okay, print. Okay, so it is telling it's a str. Okay, str means it's a string function.
Okay.
Okay, like this, if you wanted to go ahead with, if you want to know something like print type true. Okay, TRUE is capital or small. Okay, I think it's capital. First letter is capital. Okay. So you can easily understand based on the color itself. Okay. So because if I give true T as a small letter, it is showing black color. It is not a
Yeah.
keyword. Okay. So if I execute this, okay, you can see it's a Boolean. Okay, true or false comes under Boolean.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so there is a function to understand what type it is.
Okay.
Okay. So you can see sequences we have discussed what is a string, what is a escape sequence. Okay, escape sequence we haven't discussed, right? So escape sequence is like a you can see here you have this options, right? So this is the escape sequence. Sometimes if you wanted to print a backslash, okay, like this type of slash, you have to accompany this with the one more slash here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the escape sequence. These are the list of escape sequences you have.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the escape. So if you wanted to print a single quote, only one single quote, you can just go ahead with a slash and one single quote.
Okay.
Okay. So why this is actually used? This is especially used if you want to do something special inside a string. Like if you wanted to display some another single quote, or if you want to display there are tab spaces like 8 tab spaces or something, then you can just go ahead with this. Okay, so for example, if I'm editing this code, let me make it the first line. So print slash n hello world. Okay, I'm just executing this code. So if you just execute this, you can see here it is printing hello, and slash n is the next new line, right? It will
Mhm.
print in the new line.
Okay.
Okay, likewise, if you wanted to give a ASCII bell, okay, let me just try with the slash a, and instead of this, let us just go ahead with slash a. Okay, this is your ASCII value for slash a. Okay, this is actually a bell-like symbol. It is, I think it is creating something like that.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
and if you want to bring keeping the backspace, form feed, so you can just try all these things like FF, left line feed, carriage written, everything there. Okay, so these things, carriage written, horizontal tab, vertical tab. If you want to print a horizontal tab, slash T, vertical tab, slash V. So these are the backslashes, sorry, escape sequences which you have in your Python.
Okay.
Okay, so why this is exactly required? If sometime if you want to print only one single code, it should not encounter any error. And if you wanted to create some new line inside your string, you have to go with the slash n. So that is why this backslash escape sequences are created for this.
Okay.
Okay,
But I
so
can also use a triple quote to have it in like different lines, right?
you want to see your book, or is that fine? Shall I proceed?
Yeah, you can proceed.
Yes.
I'm clear until now.
So this is what, like mapping we have discussed, dictionary we have entered and see how it is actually storing it. Okay, none value we have discussed. And yes, type. Okay, so usage of Python data type. So how we'll be using it? So it should be properly used. If you are planning to go ahead with only the integers, please declare it as an integer.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to go with only the thing, then please declare it as a like a string, then please declare it as a string. And
Okay.
talking, yeah. And another thing, like this three dots, right? Like while talking, I am just remembering this. Even this three line, you can also create it as a strings. Okay, for example, you can just make it as like, for example, you can just type MSG is equal to three thing and hello, and then enter. Like as you said, in the new field, if you want to a new line, if you want to go ahead with welcome to. Okay, so even like this, you can end it. You have to actually end it. Okay, so like this, if you execute this code, okay, okay, you can see here that it is storing like this. Okay, so hello, welcome to learn Python for the new line.
Okay.
Okay, so this is also fine. You can use this.
Okay. Got
Okay, so we discussed about okay, so we discussed about the data types, right? So what is that?
it.
Types of data, integer, sorry, numbers comes under that, and then integer. Now if you want to know what is the type, you can just simply type. So that is what I have showed you. Like you simply use the function type. Okay, it will tell you what type it is, whether it is a number or it is a Boolean or whatever. Like it will show you what it is.
Okay.
Okay, and if you want to print the exact value, then you have to use the exact variable name.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so now I have a question for you. Like you can see here that you have three codes, right? The three codes you can see it is showing it in a different line. And
Yeah.
we also learned about a new line. So that is what the question you had, right? What is the purpose of these three codes and slash and new line?
To type it in different lines.
Different line. Then why they have introduced two different things?
Uh, One is for like string type, and the other one is maybe for like
Okay, whatever, even if you give in the triple code, like triple single quotes, it will consider that as a string. Okay. Okay,
okay.
so one is like this the triple single quotes, if you give, you have to make it like manually. You have to tell where it has to, like where you wanted to press the enter, you have to go enter, press the enter and then type it. If I'm not pressing enter here, okay,
Yeah.
if I'm not pressing enter here and if I'm simply typing it, okay, it will type like that. Okay.
Okay.
This is similar to your string. If
Yeah.
you just visualize this in Python, like it is directly coming up. It will not create any new lines under. If you are using a backslash, you don't want to press specifically like here I don't want this, so it will create it. It will make it as a new line automatically. It will make it as a new line. You don't want to press enter, like you don't want to type enter there.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, this is true. Okay, this is type. It will give you this type and everything, and what type of data you wanted to bring in, you can go with.
Okay.
Okay, and the assignment operator, this equal to, is which we call it as an assignment operator. Why it is an assignment operator? Whenever you are typing something after that equal to, that value will be assigned to the left side of the equal to.
Okay.
Okay, so here, if you are, this equal to is actually, before this equal to, you have a value that we call it as a L value.
Okay.
Okay, always this L value will be an identifier or a variable.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and right side of this equal to, we will call it as an R value.
Okay. Left value and then right
Yes,
value.
left value and the right value. So the right value may be an expression, it may be a literal, something. Okay, it may be anything, but R value will be there. So L value will be there and R value will be there. In between, you will have that assignment operator, which we call it as an equal to. Equal to is to assign the value.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so if you see here in this code, like let me just delete it. So if you just go ahead with a is equal to 5 star 8. So here after this equal to, you have this expression. This is the expression. Okay, this is an R value and this is the L value. So you have some expression there and you're assigning 5 star 8, that is 5 multiplied by 8 value to A.
Yeah.
Here A is a variable.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah. Clear.
In Python, you can do multiple assignments. Okay, what is this
Okay.
assignment? A, comma, B, comma, C is equal to 2, comma, 3, comma, 5. Okay, this
Yeah.
is
You said
possible
that
with
in
Python.
like C++ and Java, we have to initialize each and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Each and everything you have to give it. But here it's not like that. Even you can just go ahead with 2, comma, 3.5, comma, um, okay, this is also possible. It will allocate. If you just visualize this, print A, comma, B, comma, C. If I'm printing this, you can visualize. Okay, it's a capital letter. Okay, so if I select this, you can see A is assigned, so 2 is assigned to A, 3.5 is assigned to B, and the last string literal is assigned to C. Okay,
Yeah.
the sequentially it will assign this value. Okay, so here we are declaring a variable, right? That A, B, C. A variable should always start like we discussed about identifier, right? How it should always rules for creating an identifier. So, and a variable should always either start with a with a alphabet, or it can start with an underscore. Only these two are allowed if you are
Yeah.
starting a variable, and it cannot contain a blank space. You cannot create something like this, sum of two numbers. Okay, you cannot create it like this. If you want to create it, you have to go with an underscore to separate the, if to fill in the spaces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and you cannot contain a variable name cannot start with a underscore. Okay, so it cannot start with a letter.
Okay.
It can contain a number, it can contain a digit, okay, like 0 to 9, it can contain A to Z, can contain underscore. Other than that, you should not use any other special characters like dollar, star, or dollar or something.
Okay.
And again, you cannot use a keyword as the variable. So for this, I cannot use print.
Okay.
Okay, because this is a keyword. Print is a keyword which has reserved meaning for that.
Yeah.
Okay, and give a proper meaningful name for a variable, because if you are going to add two numbers, make it as or make it as either add. Don't use it like simply x is equal to, because in a simple thing, okay, in a simple example, if you are trying, fine, but if you are developing a big code and if you are simply using x y z to represent the variable, it will be, you will confuse. Okay, you
Yeah.
will be confused. Okay, any questions till this point? If you want to check your book, you can just check and let me know.
Okay. Actually, I'm Boolean value I can understand it's like 0 and 1, true or false, but like where can you like apply Boolean value?
Okay, Boolean value, sometimes if you want to go with assigning a gender, or we will learn about the conditional statement like if condition, switch condition. Okay, so if something goes wrong, for example, if you study hard, you will pass. Okay, if you study hard, studying hard is a condition. If it is true, then only you will pass, right?
Yeah.
So you will learn that Boolean when we come into the conditional statement like if condition and where condition.
Okay, but we will use the if condition when we are coding.
Yeah, we will use it.
Okay.
We
Okay.
will use it definitely.
Okay.
Okay. So usually it 100% you will understand it when it comes to a condition. Okay. If you want me to show you how it actually works, I can show you now. Or if
Yeah,
you
I would
wanted
like.
to, yeah, okay. So for example, let us see if you wanted to write code for license validation. Okay. If you wanted to give a license to someone. Okay. What you should see, you have to check whether they are above 18, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just getting the input from the user. Okay, age is equal to input int of input from the user, enter the age. Okay, I'm getting the age from the user. So now I want to evaluate it whether it is greater than 18 or not. Okay, I'll be using a if condition, and if always accompany with the condition. Okay, if age is greater than 18. Okay, if age is greater than 18, then I will be print eligible.
Wait, isn't it supposed to be age greater than or equal to 18?
Yes, equal to is also fine. I'm just going with the simple thing like greater
Okay.
than 18.
Okay.
Okay, eligible for license. Good catch. Eligible for license. Okay,
Okay.
this is true value. Okay, this here it comes with the true. So what happens here, this boolean will happen if it is a greater than 18, whatever you are entering, if it is greater than 18, then it will go with the true condition. This is the true condition.
Okay.
Okay, this true and false will happen in the back end. We will not code it like upfront. We will not code it.
Okay.
Okay, else, in the else part you have to say what is it. Okay, in the else part you should say print not eligible.
Okay. Can I
So what
say if
happened?
not or like, if
Sorry.
not instead of else, like if else is like a keyword, is there like any other keywords instead of
No,
else?
not in. There is the not comes under a logical operator.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
not we will not use. Whenever you are using if, either if you wanted to give a false statement, this will print the false statement. Okay,
Yeah.
this will give the true statement. If the age is above 18, it will print it. If
Okay.
it is not above 18, then what should I'll just delete this and execute so that you will understand it. Okay, I'm just clicking visualize. So what happens first? It will ask you for the age. I'm just printing 20. Okay,
Okay.
20. If I click submit, what happens here? Age, now age is actually assigned with 20, and then it will go to the next line. It will print eligible for license.
Okay.
Okay. If, for example, if I'm just entering the age. Okay, I'm just going back and visualizing this execution. And if I'm making this as 10, okay, this is not actually eligible, right? So what happens? It
Yeah.
is checking for the age greater than 18. It is not greater than 18. I didn't give any false statement here. It knows
Yeah.
it is a false. It went false, so nothing is printing.
Okay.
Okay, so what we should always do, we should always think about the user level. So if only if we print something, user will understand if something is happening or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I will do, I will also print the else statement, else part here. Okay, so you can enter 10, and if you entering 10, it will go and check the condition first here if age is greater than 18. So this condition goes false, so it will directly go to the else part here. You can just look into the arrow mark happening, like going and coming and going in there. So
Okay.
it will print not eligible. The exact Boolean is happening here. It is going true or false. If this condition goes true, what should happen? And if this condition goes false, what should happen?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Any queries? If you have, you can just let me know.
No, I'm all clear.
Okay. So this is the Boolean, but it's the good question. Usually, the Boolean exactly we will not use directly anywhere in the thing. Okay, but we will use it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is your value of object, value, how you will assign and everything. Shall we proceed or shall we stop here and learn next week? Do you have time? Like when is your exam? You said like 30th.
Yeah, my exam, my CS exam is on 30th, but from 24th, my other like unit tests are starting.
Tested are starting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we are in 4.16. You have the complete fourth chapter, right?
Actually, I think we are going ahead right now.
Okay,
My
okay,
teacher already like stopped it till the actually she the one that we finished right now. That's all she has completed.
okay. Got it. So if you want me to proceed, I can proceed for another 10 or 15 minutes. Or if you want to have some, we can, if you have time, we can meet in the weekdays itself. No problem. This week I'm okay, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want me to proceed, I can proceed. Or if you want to just take a break and try any code and come back, you can also let me know.
Anything is fine for me. If you're like okay with continuing, we can finish the multiple assignments.
Multiple assignments. Yeah, we have completed multiple assignments. You just wanted to create something like A, comma, B, comma. So it will create the
Oh, okay.
assignments. Okay, we have also completed this mutable and immutable. I told you, right? What is
Yeah,
mutable? What is immutable? The
the
memory
changeable
locations
things.
will change. Yeah, it will change or it won't change. If you want to make it change, then make it as mutable or else immutable.
Yeah.
Okay. We also discussed about the keywords in Python, which has the reserved words. If you want to see
Yeah.
keywords, you have to use this import keyword. Keyword is a package. Whenever you are using import, import means this is a keyword which is used to install your libraries. Okay, keyword is a library here. This keyword is a
Okay.
library here. Okay, so there are some libraries which are already built in your Python.
Okay. Yeah.
Fine.
Got it.
So you can just use that and print it. So this is your keyword. Keyword.kw list, in the sense it will print all the keywords. Whatever you have it in Python, it will print all the keywords here. You can see these are all the keywords. You just execute this code in the idle and take a screenshot and share it with me. Okay, so just to type this and execute it.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, this is the
I think I still
expression.
have to send you the other one. The one that you like assigning variables and then like
Yes,
doing the multiple operations on it. I
yes,
think I have
yes.
to send you that one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an expression. We discussed about the expression as well, like is equal to. You have to use is equal to express, write the expression. What happens? Okay, and board mass rule. If it is a parenthesis, which one will be executed first?
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we discussed.
Yes. So probably in the weekdays, if you have any time, let us just complete it. Like we have a type conversion. We will discuss about the what is this type conversion, what is this operators, what are the types of operators do we have, what is a binary and unary operator relation. These are all very simple. We can just complete it soon. No problem with this.
Yeah.
Okay, mathematical operator. User input, we have already discussed. You have to use input. Okay,
Yeah.
few things we have already discussed. We know what is it, why you should use input, why you should use input. Okay,
Mm.
because if you are just going with simply an input, it will consider that as a string. If you are using int of input, then it will be considered as a integer value. Okay, I think we need only one more session to complete the remaining portions in your for your exam.
Okay. I
Okay.
think I'm available on Wednesdays. That's the only day I come early, so we can
Okay,
have the section
Wednesday,
on
9
Wednesday.
o'clock. Or what time?
In morning I have school, so I come back at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Night, 9
Anything
o'clock, I'm
after?
asking.
Oh, night. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. You just let me know. Give me a heads up like whether you are available, then we can start. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay, then any queries if you have, you can just ask me apart from this.
No, I feel like today's session was like very productive, and I don't have any questions.
Okay, great. Okay, you just try this if function which I have showed you.
Okay.
I hope you just saw this. I just wanted to highlight one thing here. Okay, in while I'm writing an if function, did you notice I have given a colon?
Yeah.
Okay, this is to say that whatever you are going to type inside your this starts that it is an if function and this particular line does not ends here.
Okay.
Okay, and print, you can see that I have given some space and I have given the print function.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not giving a space, it will throw you error.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if I'm just printing this, okay, let us see what error it is showing. See, it shows error. Scroll down to see an error message. So print, it is showing error. It is like string, indentation error. Indentation means you have to give some space.
Okay.
And it is telling that if statement on line 2, it doesn't have, the block is not properly indented. Indented in the sense you haven't given a proper space for the line.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
So why it is following the indentation? Because Python is it's an interpreter, right? It cannot understand you are giving some function, you are trying to check some condition here. After the condition, what it has to execute? Okay, if it is not following the indentation, it means like a regular next line. Okay, it's a
Yeah.
next statement. Only if you give you indentation, it will understand that okay, this is what I wanted to do after checking this condition.
Okay.
Okay, you will face this indentation in many situation, I will tell you. Okay, if you are simply typing some more concept in here, like this doesn't require the indentation because this is an individual statement and this is an individual statement.
Okay. Since
Okay,
we're
but
using the if clause, we are adding the indentation.
because this particular thing is dependent on the if condition.
Okay. Got it.
Whatever you are typing it, and if you wanted to print something inside the if block, that should be properly given. Even if you wanted to print something here, x is equal to some operation, some mathematical function you wanted to do inside that, it should follow a proper indentation.
Okay.
Okay, and it else part is not really required. Even without else it will execute. But if you wanted to say the user that else, what happens if the output goes false, what it will happen, then you have to go with else part.
Okay. Yeah.